Mirë se vini në Prevall, Kosovë dhe faleminderit për pjesëmarrjen tuaj në Punëtorinë Ballkani Perëndimor Reforma rregullatore bankare dhe zbatimi i tyre, sfida përpara, që është organizuar në bashkëpunim Banka Qendrore me Gizin Gjerman. Me këtë rast dëshiroj të falenderoj edhe Bankën Prokredit dhe shoqatën e bankave të Kosovës për përkrahjen e tyre në organizimin e kësaj punëtorie. Kjo punëtori sigurisht nuk do të kishte kuptim pa mbështetjen shumë të rëndësishme që kemi planuar nga përfaqësues e Single Resolution Board, nga Deutsche Bundesbanka, pastaj nga Bafini, Banka Qendrore Evropiane dhe Banka Slovenisë, të cilën në pranimin e ftesës për të diskutuar në këtë punëtori kanë shprehur edhe një herë për kushtimin e tyre për të ndihmuar vendet e rajonit në konvergjimin sa më të lehtë drejt standardeve të tyre. Po ashtu dëshiroj të falenderoj shumë pjesëmarrësit nga bankat qendrore të rajonit, si dhe përfaqësues nga bankat komerciale që operojnë në Kosovë, për pjesëmarrjen dhe kontributin e rëndësishëm që ata pritet të japin në këtë punëtori. Duke pasur parasysh dinamikën me të cilën po zhvillohet industria financiare dhe rëndësinë çdo ditë më të madhe të stabilitetit financiar për zhvillimin e qëndrueshëm ekonomik të çdo vendi, Banka Qendrore e Republikës Kosovës, po ashtu edhe banka tjera të rajonit, me kohë kanë vendosur si prioritetet shumë të rëndësishëm në zbatimin e vazhdueshëm standardeve më të mira ndërkombëtare në fushën e rregullativës financiare. Dinamika me cilën po zhvillohet rregullativa financiare ndërkombëtare kërkon resurse të konsiderueshme për të zbatuar nga bankat qendrore dhe kjo sigurisht se paraqet një sfidë shumë të rëndësishme për bankat qendrore, të cilat janë më të vogla siç është në Kosovë dhe vendet e rajonit. Sidoqoftë përmes organizimeve të tilla ne do të jemi në gjendje që të bashkojmë energji dhe përvojat në mënyrë që të jemi sa më efektiv në ndjekjen dhe zbatimin e standardeve më të mira ndërkombëtare. Prandaj kjo punëtori është e dizajnuar në mënyrë të tillë që të kemi prezent partnerët tanë që vijnë nga institucionet me të arriturat shumë të rëndësishme në gjitha fushat dhe besoj që gjatë kësaj kohe kanë mundësi që të na ofrojnë ato që është më e mira që ne vazhdojmë rrugtimin drejt përmbushjes standardeve më të mira ndërkombëtare. Për ne si bankë qendrore, si sistemi i ri bankar dhe si bankë qendrore e re, është dhe ka qenë dhe është shumë sfiduese zbatimi i standardeve që kërkohet sipas kërkesave bazë të rreshit, po ashtu edhe kërkesat të IFRS-shit dhe zbatimi i procedurave të rregullta të likuidimit të bankave ose siç njihet banka rezolucish. Ka qenë dhe mjaft dhe mbetet mjaft sfiduese, po megjithatë ne kemi arritur që fal përkrahjes ndërkombëtare të adaptojmë rregullativen tonë dhe jemi në hap të mirë edhe për mbushje këtyre kërkesave, pra të Basel 3-shit, kërkesat që vijnë edhe prej IFRS-shit dhe kërkesat tjera për likuidimin e bankave, fal bashkëpunimit, pra kemi arritur që dhe mund të them që nga viti i ardhshëm ne veç fillojmë me aplikimin e këtyre rregullore. Pra kemi kriju grupe punuese që janë duke punuar në finalizimin e Basel 3-shit, gjithsesi kërkesat që rrihen nga Basel 3-shit dhe për IFRS-shit. Sektori bankar mbetet një ndër sektorët më të rëndësishëm dhe me trend të vazhdueshëm në rritje. Edhe gjatë vitit 2018, sektori bankar vazhdoi të tregojë qëndrueshmëri në komponentet kryesorë të likuiditetit, të fitimit dhe të kapitalit. Sipas të dhënave të fundit të muajit qershor 2018, vlera gjithsej asetet sektorit bankar arriti në 3.9 miliardë euro, derisa struktura e mjeteve vazhdoi të financohet kryesisht nga depozitat që janë të përqendruara në aktivitetin e kredidhënies. Vlera e përgjithshme e kredive të sektorit bankar në qershor 2018 ishte rreth 2.7 miliardë euro, e cila paraqet një rritje vjetore prej 11.3%. Tregues të kredive performuese kanë shënuar në 2.8% në fund të muajit tetor, ndërkaq që më herët ishin rreth 3.9%, domethënë nëse krahasojmë baza vjetore. Kjo tregon për një afarizëm mjaft të shëndoshtë të bankave që operojnë në vendin tonë. Gjithsej depozitat evidentojnë shumë rreth 3.1 miliardë euro, ndërsa likuiditeti në sektorin bankar vazhdon të jetë larg mbi minimumin e kërkuar rregullativ, gjithsesi raporti i mjetë likuide ndaj detyrimeve afashkurtra shënon 33.2%, përderisa me kërkesa rregullative është që të jenë në 25%. Sektori bankar vazhdon të jetë mirë kapitalizuar, tregues të kapitalit bazuar në risk në muajin qershor 2018 ishte 17.4%, që është larg mbi minimumin e kërkuar rregullativ, pra që kërkohet jenë 12%. Kjo fotografi e shkurtër tregon se sektori bankar po kalon nëpër një periudhë të kënaqshme dhe është në përputhje me kërkesat rregullative. Në përgjithësi, një situatë të kënaqshme e karakterizojnë edhe sektorët bankar të bankave të rajonit. Prandaj konsideroj se ne jemi në kohë të përshtatshme për të mbledhur forcat dhe për të punuar edhe më intensivisht në avansimin e kapacitetit tona. Rrjedhimisht mendoj se kjo është një mundësi e mirë për gjithë përfaqësuesit e bankave qendrore të Ballkanit Perëndimor që ta shfrytëzojnë prezantimet dhe panelet e dedikuara për të kuptuar sa më mirë zhvillimet që po ndodhin në rregullativën financiare dhe për të shfrytzuar rastin të marrë udhëzime konkrete nga forcët tonë të nderuar për hapat e ardhshëm. Prezenca e përfaqësuesve të bankave komerciale konsideroj se do të pasuroj diskutimin në këtë punëtori dhe do të na mundsoj të kemi një pikturë më të qartë për çështjet që do të diskutohen këtu. Unë shpresoj se fryma e shkëlqyeshme e bashkëpunimit ndërmjet bankave qendrore të rajonit, partnerëve tanë nga institucionet financiare ndërkombëtare dhe industrisë financiare të vazhdojë të rritet edhe më tutje dhe uroj që kjo punëtori të jap kontribut të rëndësishëm në rritjen e bashkëpunimit në mes nesh. Në fund, unë ju uroj të gjithëve diskutime të frytshme, të suksesshme dhe interesante në këtë punëtori dhe ju dëshiroj qëndrim të këndshëm në malet e Sharrit. Faleminderit shumë.
I would like to explain a little bit our involvement as GIZ. We started our cooperation with Central Bank of Kosovo 4 years ago to discuss the regulatory system for the banking sector and also to start all the implementation of the obligations of Kosovo according to the stabilization and association agreement, so that Kosovo can prepare for all the challenges with EU standards, which we know are quite high and are even getting higher from every year to the next year. We had started with a short assessment where we are in the legal system, and then we started with direct advice and cooperation with the central bank what has to be done in the legislative and in the regulatory system, and then came also to the implementation side of all these directives, and on the other side also in working with the capacity development in the central bank, so that the bank is able really to fulfill all the supervisory obligations and competences the bank has to fulfill. We were working with one integrated expert. He's sitting in the second row here, Ralph. I think he did a great job in the last years in getting this unit also established and working well. I hope the colleagues of this unit agree. And at the same time, we could also have a small project supporting this work of the advisors in bringing together all the actors in the field. And we were happy that we could also bring in external partners like the Bundesbank, like the BaFin from Germany, like also the bank from Slovenia and also from Croatia, which I think was important also to have this outside perspective on the country. We are quite happy that our impression is that this intervention from our side worked very well, that I think we have a very well functioning supervisory and regulatory unit in the central bank. Also, the assignment of our integrated expert came to an end in the end of August, officially from the German side. We are happy that obviously central bank is so much interested in the support that you are still here, Ralph, in supporting further for the cooperation. And we are also, for us, it is important that we have now this regional event with this regional discussion, because I think this is now the next step for such a cooperation, that we see that we have quite a number of relatively small countries here in the region who are facing similar challenges. At the same time, as I mentioned, the European regulations are not a stable thing. They are moving. There are coming new regulations, also new concepts in. And for that, I think it is very important for the banks in the region, for the banking sector in the region, and for the central banks to have this direct exchange within the region. Therefore, we hope that this seminar here is setting a ground for probably also listing the issues you will have to work in the next years together, where there might be still decisions to be taken, and then to see how the further steps can be taken individually by each government and each nation, and on the other hand also together in the cooperation. Last but not least, I would again like to thank the German partners, the Bundesbank and BaFin, for their engagement and for also their commitment in the future to support especially Kosovo, but also here in the region the banking system.
It's an honor also for me, as a representative of the Kosovo banking industry, to address this important and coherent workshop. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for such a fruitful event, and similar experiences would be definitely welcomed. It is the second time in 2 years the CBK is hosting such a high-level workshop, and I hope this becomes a tradition by now. After the financial crisis, we as commercial banks should ask ourselves, what lessons have we learned? And the answer is simple. In principle, every bank should be resilient and prepared to absorb unexpected risks, not only because the regulators require it, but because it is an inherent ethical banking standard. As you know, the Basel III framework is a central element of the Basel Committee's response to the global financial crisis. Capital adequacy, as well as the effective management of the bank's internal capital adequacy, are fundamental preconditions for financial stability. As this event targets mainly Basel III, it represents a great opportunity for our sectors to listen to key lessons in this major step for commercial banks from the EU regulators. Slovenia, Germany, I understand we are represented today here. For us, this is another step forward in the enhancement of the regulatory perspective, as well as an alignment of the banking sector supervision standards with the EU standards. The conference has two additional focal points for us as commercial banks, namely the implementation of IFRS 9 for the banking environment and the ICAP processes. IFRS 9, effective by 2019 for Kosovo, calls to adapt impairment requirements which use forward-looking models to recognize future expected credit losses. As a result, ICAP process for banks applying IFRS accounting needs to prepare forecasts on IFRS 9 basis and to be included in the ICAP model. The benefits of proper implementation in banks are clear. First of all, strong compliance is key benefit, and clear principles in capital calculation and management will help banks avoid regulatory constraints or even penalties. In addition, banks may be able to leverage other benefits to give themselves a competitive edge. Stress testing can be part of the process that achieves better capital allocation and enhanced risk-adjusted performance measurement. In an environment of tight capital, excellence in ICAP implementation can help the bank make the most efficient use of this scarce resource. We as commercial banks believe in a resilient banking system in Kosovo. The financial stability of the country benefits not only to the regulator, but the overall business environment as well as every individual player in the market. Therefore, it should be in our interest to step-by-step achieve the objectives of the ICAP process and to implement it in a meaningful way. All banks are making here in Kosovo necessary progress towards full preparation for final step. Both Central Bank of Republic of Kosovo and the Kosovo Banking Association are providing assistance to banks to build capacities. In this regard, specifically, Kosovo Banking Association has organized several important trainings and certifications, which include IFRS 9 training and certification, Basel III trainings, credit risk management, market risk, operational risk, and so on. In addition, and a very important element, I would like to mention is that KBA has worked very closely with CBK, respectively, GIZ-supported project known as Basel Implementation Project, and which has been led very successfully, I have to stress, by Mr. Ralph Raab, whom I would like to thank on behalf of the entire banking sector of Kosovo. During this cooperation, we had the opportunity to provide our comments as commercial banks and suggestions to a number of very important draft documents which are alive nowadays. We are proud to have been a part of a successful and stable banking system in Kosovo. The key performance indicators of the sectors are very satisfactory, as Governor was referring to, such as the low NPL ratio and the well above the minimum requirements for capital adequacy indicators. However, when we talk about capital adequacy during this workshop or workshops of these 2 days, we emphasize the importance of the question, how much is adequate? Yet, we reckon the banking sector in Kosovo is young, and our successful but short past experience should not provide a guarantee for a resilient future. We strongly appreciate the flexibility reflected in suggested step-by-step implementation approach, as we consider highly important the time to be given to commercial banks to prepare their own assessment of ICAP implementation process. At the same time, we are positive that the successful dialogue between the Central Bank of the Republic of Kosovo, the Banking Association, and the commercial banks will be key to a successful ICAP implementation. I do hope that by adopting such a fundamental tool for capital management, the banking sector in Kosovo will be in a much better shape to cope with whatever shocks and stress scenarios. And it's our job as bank managers to make this possible.
This was one of the analytical chapters in the November version of the Regional Economic Outlook, where we looked at the condition of the banking sectors in the Western Balkans, mostly with a view to what we observed as the creditless recovery after the end of the crisis, the credit crisis. And we've seen some stagnating income convergence and credit deepening in the Western Balkans, so we wanted to dig a little bit deeper to see what is driving this. I'll walk you through a whole lot of charts in the next 15-20 minutes or so. Again, this, as I said, this study was largely motivated to see what has been explaining the stalling income convergence of the Western Balkans, also compared to the new member states of the European Union. We often use the new member states as peers or benchmark for the Western Balkan states because they went through the transition process a bit earlier. What you see here depicted in the left side chart is GDP in per capita terms, in purchasing power parity terms, as a percent of the average for the euro area, and you clearly see that while for the new member states, the 10 new member states of the European Union in Central and Eastern Europe, you see some convergence. There's a continued increase towards the average per capita level in the euro area, which today is around 70% for the new member states, and we see this drop off in the Western Balkans. There was some convergence since 2002 up to the start of the financial crisis, and afterwards you see income convergence stagnating. Now, of course, it would be hard to say that this is only attributed to the credit boom and bust that we've seen in the Western Balkans. We've looked at many different aspects in other studies done by the IMF, where we looked, for instance, at the unfinished transition, where what we've seen in this region, there's still quite a dominance of publicly owned or state-owned enterprises. We wrote a different chapter in the same Regional Economic Outlook on weak institutions and governance issues around the rule of law and business environment, which is often quoted also here in Kosovo, and more structural issues around human and fiscal capital gaps. But this paper focused specifically on the health of the banking sector and the capacity of the banking sector in Kosovo and the neighboring countries to support financing firms and households for additional growth and convergence in the next few years. So what you see on the right-hand side is actually the boom and bust in credit. You see that credit deepening has stalled. This is bank credit to the private sector in percent of GDP. You see that between 2002, in the run-up to the crisis, 2008-2009, there was a sharp increase of almost 30 percentage points of GDP in credit depth. After the collapse of the crisis, or the emergence of the crisis, this has pretty much stagnated at that level, or decreased in fact. Same thing happened in the new member states. It's actually a more pronounced boom and bust in the new member states, as you can see. Problem, of course, with averages here, as always, is that the average is masking a lot of cross-country variation within the region. So what you see, for instance, in the Western Balkans is, in Kosovo, we didn't really experience a boom and bust in credit as much as we've seen, for instance, in Montenegro. Montenegro saw had a 40 percentage point increase in credit to GDP before the crisis, and almost 20% drop in credit to GDP after the crisis. So this is one of the sharpest booms and busts that we have actually observed around the world. Just to sketch the context first before looking into further credit deepening, I will show you a few charts looking into the years in the run-up to the crisis and the years after, so the boom and the bust. Here you see in the years up to 2008-2009 that there was a very sharp increase in external bank funding across the Western Balkans. In percentage points, there was more than a five-fold increase, or 500% increase in foreign bank funding to the Western Balkan countries. In percentage points of GDP, it's about 20 percentage points of GDP. Again, this masks a very wide variation. As you can see, Montenegro is at the top, and Macedonia and Albania are at the bottom of this distribution.
Mechanism in 2014. Particularly, the low level of NPLs in the Kosovo